And we're back. And if you're on podcast services around the world,
shit.
you're like...
They open the box.
Yeah, you're like, whoa! It's like podcast services around the world. You're like, whoa, we've been listening to you this whole time.
When the camera's off, we can't see.
Yeah, we can't see either.
The lights go off, everything. It's like being in a small box. It's fucking scary.
I can't see Johnny because I turn the lights off. Like, the lights go off, and we just don't. We talk to each other in the dark. It's like I'm talking to nobody.
Ultimate podcasting powers.
Yeah.
Itty bitty tiny working space.
Basically. But welcome back. If you're on YouTube, you can see us for this third segment. We are talking Thor. And before we get into it, make sure to check us out, patreon.com/most-valuable-podcast. That is how you help us, support us, help us get a new studio. That is our main goal for 2019. But, Johnny, we're talking about Thor because
finally.
Taika Waititi, one of my favorite names to say in the MCU, has apparently already finished Thor Love and Thunder's script.
Damn.
Deadline reports new details on a mystery film that Waititi is working on for Fox Searchlight. That project, a soccer movie called Next Goal Wins, is apparently targeting a fall start date. Additionally, Deadline confirmed that Waititi has completed the screenplay for Love and Thunder. Since Waititi's involvement was revealed less than a month ago, he probably started working on the script before Marvel made its announcement. The report also reiterates that Love and Thunder will begin production in early 2020. And after Waititi wraps Next Goal Wins. Marvel will shoot Love and Thunder at Disney's own Fox Studios Australia in Sydney. Series vets Jamie Alexander, Sif, and Kate Dennings, Darcy, have both expressed interest in returning after sitting out Ragnarok in 2017. But at the moment, only Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, and Tessa Thompson are coming back for the sequel. So, the thing I want to ask you, Johnny, is what should we expect from the story of Thor, Love, and Thunder? Because there are also rumors out there that we already know who the villain is going to be. And the villain, I will ask you, Mr. Thor, and Thor being one of your favorite heroes, we'll see your Thor knowledge here. Do you know who Gore the God Butcher is?
I know who he is.
So, do you want to explain who Gore the God Butcher is?
No, absolutely not. You got it in front of you.
I do have it in front of me. So, Gore the God Butcher...
Why the hell would I make up something?
He is basically... So, the way you got to think about it is... So, he's on an alien planet, and basically he does not have...
I mean, he's an alien for him, though.
...powers of his own. Well, alien to us.
Mm-hmm.
So he was born on a planet with no name, almost every day on the brink of starvation. He was taught to trust in the gods, but they never answered his prayers. At an early age, his mother and father died, leaving Gore to fend for himself in the harsh environment. Years later, he married and fathered some children, however, most of them died. Gore's pregnant mate, Ara, was killed during an earthquake. And one by one, his children perished until he was left with one son, Agar. When Agar was on the brink of death due to starvation, Gore sought to ease his suffering and told his son they would soon reach a forest where they would never go hungry again. So because of all this, he was told to trust in the gods. The gods will provide for you, but they never did. So basically, it's a very humanistic kind of...
Anyone who considers himself a god or is called a god, he's going to kill. Is that what it comes down to?
Well, here's how the story goes. Is so because of this, the gods never answer his prayers. He starts being like, fuck it, there are no gods. Like, the gods don't exist. If the gods exist, they would come and help us. We wouldn't be starving because they would come and help us. I wouldn't be down to my last
family member.
Exactly. So,
no family members.
What happens is in the comic, there's these two gods fighting each other. One is gold armor with a nice gold like blade polearm kind of weapon. The other is like in complete black. And they are fighting each other. And the gold one takes a hit from the black one, and falls to the ground in the planet. And Gore comes up to him and first realizes, holy shit, gods are real, but then starts to realize, wait, what the fuck? Gods are real. Why weren't you fucking helping me? Where were you when we were starving? So he kills that god, kills him in cold blood. And then what happens is it's either he or the gold one had already killed the black god, the god in the black armor, and his armor was actually, and it's been retconned, it was actually a symbiote. The first symbiote, the primal symbiote, the first one we ever see ever in our lifetimes. And that symbiote forms onto Gore, and he gets the weapon of the, I think it's called the Neo Blade. And that's where he becomes the God Butcher, where his goal is basically like Thanos, where Thanos would go to a world, wipe out half of existence, and then leave. He will go to planets and murder every single god. His goal is to kill the gods until there are none left. Because they have done nothing.
So everyone that's considered a god or calls himself a god, it gets killed.
Basically. So that is who they're thinking is going to be the villain of Thor, Love and Thunder. I will then ask you, with what we know, with Jane becoming Lady Thor, if the God Butcher is the villain, what should we expect from Thor 4's story? Next year, not next year, a couple of years. That's at the end of phase 4.
Shit, that's a tough one to go about because, I mean, you have to introduce the God Butcher, for one. You can't just throw him in. So we're going to have how Jane becomes Thor. You're going to have, because Valkyrie's back too, right? You said? I thought so. Yeah, Tessa Thompson.
And there's rumors that Beta Ray Bill may be in it too.
That'd be interesting. That's a lot to put into a movie then. Setting up Beta Ray Bill, setting up... Damn. Good.
Thinking about it?
I'm going to probably just hack away at the Beta Ray Bill and leave that for not coming in. Which means Lady Sif is a hit or miss if she should be in it. But I mean...
Yeah.
So I'm going to say either... Well, we'll start with what's going to happen on Earth then. Because Thor right now, he's with the Guardians is what we're going to go with. Let's see. So you got Tessa Thompson, Queen of... And
this could happen either after or before Guardians 3.
That's true.
Like Guardians 3 could be a time jump.
It could be. You're right. I'm just going to say, well, obviously it's going to have to be like Guardians 3 is set before Thor, Love and Thunder. It's going to have to be like a jump back.
Because the last thing we saw in Endgame was him leaving with Rocket.
Yes. So what's going to happen at that point is Thor, Love and Thunder. We're going to start with what's going on Earth. You got Tessa Thompson, Valkyrie, who is in charge of New Asgard, Queen of New Asgard. You have Jane, who's going to have to get the hammer and start up her thing as Thor, or her version of Thor. I'm trying to think if they should like set up they're gonna have to set up. I just forgot his name already. The God Slayer, Gore. Thank you. Set up Gore. God damn, why do the names all have to sound familiar?
Gore and Thor.
Gore, Thor, Lady Thor. It's either he hears about Jane or Thor, and decides to go to that planet and do it, or he finds out about Thor, as in like our actual Thor, and chasing him around until he gets to Earth. My money would be on he hears about this, he arrives at Earth, hears about this God of Thunder, goes after Jane, who then Valkyrie's going to want to know who this Thor imposter is, so that's going to be how she ties into the story. And then I don't know how Thor is going to tie in where he has to help Jane. So
here's what I'm thinking, where the main thing we have to figure out in this story is how the hell is Jane getting Mjolnir? How is she getting Mew Mew?
Yeah, Mew Mew, that's right. You say it that way.
How is she getting Mjolnir?
Yeah.
And to me, there's a story in the comics, and I think it relates to Gore the God Butcher, where basically there's Gore is in a different multiverse than our Thor. And we've already had Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 2 had talked about multiverses. Doctor Strange is all going to be about multiverses. They're kind of really setting up this multiverse kind of a strain. So what they could do is Gore's in a different multiverse, one where their Thor has Mjolnir. And this Gore is just butchering everybody. He is just, every single god he comes in contact with is just kill, kill, kill. And what happens in that storyline is the Thor in that storyline before he dies gets to our multiverse and hands off the hammer to where it's the hammer's now in our multiverse. So it's kind of like I'm the Thor from mine and I'm dead. There's no use for the hammer. And your multiverse doesn't have a Mjolnir. So here, you can have this one. And that's how we get Mjolnir back into our multiverse. But what people are kind of talking about with that is, if that is possible and they do that, then that is how Gore the God Butcher gets into our multiverse also.
See, I'm wondering... God. I'm wondering if multiverse is what everyone thinks it is. It's not... I don't know if it's necessarily like DC's Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3 necessarily.
Yeah.
Because we've got, like, villains, and I'm just naming some villain... luckily, I had this in front of me because I was going to start looking up Thor villains. If I can scroll to the top and get this thing in front of me... Annihilus, for example, his native planet is Arthros, but he's the ruler of what's called the negative zone, which isn't necessarily like, maybe there isn't an Earth in that. I almost called it a realm. It's not a realm. It's multiverse.
You're like, I'll just use the word
No,
multiverse.
I just couldn't think of the actual term multiverse. It's not, it's like, more so think of like the beginning of Doctor Strange when she knocks his soul, I'm going to just say soul out.
His essence.
Well, it's the
Chakra.
spiritual form.
Yeah, astral form.
Astral form, thank you. She knocks his astral form out, sends him into like falling through different multiverses. None of them which seem anything like even like, oh, there's an Earth. No, it was just like hands crawling out. You see like weird colors and shapes, almost like he's like in a petri dish with
produce.
Did you say produce?
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say.
In a petri dish?
Hey, there could be produce in there.
Oh, God.
With bacteria?
Yeah, something like that. Or like, let's just say bacteria. Fuck it.
Okay. I was going to say skin cells. Did you start scratching
No,
your
my
arm?
arm just itched. But you get what I'm saying. It's all these weird, and like, look at when he goes in Dormammu's domain. When Dormammu tries to take over our universe.
I could do this all day, Dormammu.
Yeah.
Stabs him, comes back.
Yeah, no. So it's like that. I don't think it's like necessarily Earth, blah, 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 Earth this. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to go.
Let me
I'm going to lean away from the multiverse like everyone, like some people are thinking.
Because I forgot one key factor of it.
Yeah.
Let me quickly read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then you tell me, here's the thing I want your question after I read this. Is if Gore the God Butcher is going to be the villain for Thor 4, how do you take this story and change it to where it fits into the MCU, where it fits into what we already have established and what we want to establish? So this is his encounters with Thor. So at some point in the 9th century, Gore arrived on Earth and killed a god from the Americas, the body washing up on shore of Iceland, where it was found by Thor. At a later date, while accompanying a Viking raiding party to Russia, Thor found some of the Slavic gods dead. Thor was attacked by Gore, who nearly managed to kill Thor, But just before the killing blow, Thor conjured a lightning strike, which knocked both of them out. Gorr recovered and escaped to a cave, where he once again fought Thor. Despite Gorr attempting to torture Thor for information about the location of Asgard for 17 days, Thor held out long enough for his Viking worshippers to find him, distracting Gorr long enough for Thor to recover and cut Gorr's right arm off, believing that he had successfully slayed Gorr. Gorr survived their encounter, however, and would spend the next 1,000 years butchering more and more gods, growing even stronger and amassing an army of dark minions to assist him in his crusade. Thor once again took notice of Gorr's activities centuries later and began hunting him when a prayer summoned him to a world without gods, recognizing Gorr's handiwork when he found the world's deities slaughtered. While Thor went to a cave they once fought to look for him, Gorr attacked Chakras. I hope I said that right. Or no, it's Kronux. Wow, I can't read. To lay claim to the pool of forevers, and used the blood of the time gods to transverse the time stream. When he went back to the beginning of the universe and slew one of the first elder gods, taking the infant deity's heart as a trophy, he then headed forward in time millennia into the future and arrived in Earth 14412, claiming a desolate world to serve as his base of operations and enslaving all the gods he could capture except for the Allfather, Thor, who he routinely tortured over his failures. Over the next 900 years, Gorr forced the enslaved gods to mine broken planets and the cores of the stars for materials to build the God Bomb, which he intended to use to exterminate all gods across the entirety of the multiverse. Gorr also created constructs of his deceased wife and sons from the all-black symbiote, though unbeknownst to his son, embodied his self-conscious self-loathing. So the thing I forgot to mention was that God Bomb thing of like, he wants to build the God Bomb to kill all gods in every multiverse. How do you take that and can you bring that and put it into the MCU? Because I know, like, unless you're going to be like Thor has a flashback where it's like, oh, we have fought before. Mm-hmm. Basically, back when Thor was the cocky asshole, where it's like, oh, I can do whatever I want, kind of a thing.
Yeah, you got like Thor back then had the attitude of, I've never lost before. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to like, you can't really show the Thor having been tortured for so many days or holding out. You can't really show any of those. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can probably show a flashback of, oh yeah, I have fought you before.
Unless the torturing happens now.
Yeah, unless he does that. But
like Thor disappears, and then Jane's like, what the hell do we do? And then that's when Jane becomes Lady Thor, and then when she meets up with Thor, it's like, what the fuck? You got my power? You got Thor's powers?
Mm-hmm. See, I'm having trouble grasping of going with Gorr as the villain for this in general. Mm-hmm. Partially because of the title of this movie.
Love and Thunder?
Yes. Because Ragnarok tied in with the name. The Dark World tied in with the name. Mm-hmm. There was no actual secondary title for Thor, so
yeah.
If like, in what way would Gorr being the villain tie in with Love and Thunder? Unless it's just the romance between Thor and Jane, or maybe even Jane and Valkyrie, because in the comics that happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, I'm having trouble grasping how Gorr could be
fits in
with that title. Because tell me that they would make that title and not have it play into the story.
Yeah, with me, I kind of sit there and I'm like, for me,
I would leave the God Bomb out of it, because that's you show gods like him having taken gods to be slaves. Do you introduce any of those gods? Do you just have them as people slaving away? What do you do?
So here's one thing I'm going to ask you. Let's say Gore is not the villain. And this is from 2 months ago. And this is from We Got This Covered also. They have here, We Got This Covered has been informed that Amora the Enchantress will likely make her MCU debut in Thor 4.
That's the one I would go with.
If this happens, she'll serve as the central villain of the movie. However, it isn't set in stone that the character will be involved as Marvel is still at the idea stage and the script at this point had yet to be written, but now it's finished. Why do you think and why do you clap your hands like you did? How does Enchantress fit more into what everything you're talking about, especially with the love and thunder
I got this.
part?
I actually looked up Jane Foster's Thor's villains, and it just gave me a slew of Thor villains in general because these all fought Thor as well. Enchantress, Amora the Enchantress, and his guardian goddess and immensely powerful magical sorcerer. Being backed by years of experience, she is one of Thor's greatest and most powerful foes, not only because of her immense power, but also because of him being in love, being her love interest. My money, well, not my money, but my money's me.
You think there's going to be like a Poison Ivy type of thing?
Essentially, yeah. So what I'm thinking almost is, I don't know what her motive is necessarily. Yet I'm still trying to snowball that one. But she almost uses her powers to manipulate Thor or control Thor into fighting Jane and Valkyrie at one point.
Kind of like how getting out with Poison Ivy, where, of course, in the Batman movie, it was more of like, no, she wants me. No, she wants me. But this is something where it's like turning him villainous almost.
Makes Thor a villain for a short time of the movie. Just like, almost like,
it's mind control.
When Scarlet Witch put the visions in like Tony's head, almost her doing something like that, but it's like, Thor, take care of them. Like, oh, maybe she wants Thor, because I know in the cartoons, she wants Thor as her to be in love with her, to marry her so she can be like with him. And
she be Queen of Asgard?
It's not even necessarily to be Queen of Asgard from what they've shown.
She just wants to be with Thor.
But that would be the benefit too. She wants to be with Thor, but that would be like maybe a benefit to her. Maybe add that, like compound that onto it. It's like, well, this is New Asgard, and technically Thor should be the king. Basically, hey, she's in your throne. You should take care of that. Stuff like that. But like I think the beginning of this will be sort of the comic book line stuff I read where, so Jane takes like the mantle of Thor.
Yeah.
I think to me is going to be either along the lines of Mjolnir still technically works because in the old comics with Donald Blythe, he found a stick. Tap it twice, it becomes Mjolnir, he becomes Thor. Tap it one more time, like tap it again, or is it twice again? And it turns back into a stick.
Do you think they're really going to do that, though?
It's not necessarily that. I'd say maybe the handle, Mjolnir, Mjolnir can... I'm just going to go with this instead. Because as I'm saying it, like, I don't like that as much.
Do you want to know the easiest thing they can do?
Mjolnir back together.
Answer me this, because I forgot it.
Riddle me this.
I'm trying to remember his name, and I can't. Peter Dinklage isn't dead, right?
No.
He didn't die, right?
No.
He just doesn't have his hands.
He just can't use his hands, yeah.
What doesn't... At that point, what doesn't stop them from going to him and being like, hey, can you make us another Mjolnir?
Or just bring the pieces of Mjolnir to him. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe not even him necessarily. Maybe someone from New Asgard. Or just like to remember their king, their Thor as their king, take the pieces of Mjolnir and get like either themselves or get someone to weld it back together and they put that on display, and at that point, like, they can't lift Mjolnir, but they can lift what Mjolnir's on.
Yeah.
And so they like have that on display of, hey, in honor of Thor having been our king and our savior. That's kind of almost far, but
because a part of the rumors too is obviously Jane needs a Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna have Mjolnir. But the rumors are if they do include, because the rumor is that we're gonna have a couple versions of Thor in this.
really,
Thor, Jane Foster, Valkyrie in a sense because she's the Queen of Asgard right now, and then Beta Ray Bill also. The big one with Beta Ray Bill is that they almost had him in Thor Ragnarok, but they decided to cut him because
they referenced him though with the
they
face on
referenced
the
him with the face, but they cut him because I remember them saying that when they introduce him, they want him to be a bigger part of the story. They didn't just want him to be a champion that Thor or Hulk fought in the Colosseum. And the thing that people are theorizing is that he will be in it. And then at the end of the movie, or towards the end of the movie, because his weapon in the comic is Stormbreaker, that Thor will give him Stormbreaker because there's no enchantment on it. And then Thor will basically become, hey, I'm going to be Cosmic Thor and like go off with the Guardians, or kind of I'm going to police over here, kind of like what Captain Marvel does in a sense, but on a maybe smaller scale. Because he can't, I would say Captain Marvel is more powerful than Thor in her powers and can probably cover a lot more of a vast area in space than her.
Well, I mean, without Mjolnir or without Stormbreaker, yes.
Without Stormbreaker, because with that it's just summon the Bifrost. And he can travel anywhere, but without a Mjolnir, without a Stormbreaker, and he just goes off and kind of does his own thing.
Yeah, I'm just debating on that part. I mean, I can see where it comes from, and then the Enchantress would make it a little bit harder for Jane and Valkyrie, only because she can probably manipulate him too, if she wanted to. But it's kind of, I'm just wondering if that's too much to add into the storyline or not. But then you got Lady Sif that wants to come back. If that's the case, you can have her go off with Beta Ray Bill at the end like it does once in a while.
Yeah. And they're kind of like the duo that goes...
Yeah, off.
Oh, man. And then...
Because the thing with Beta Ray Bill
and then you can have a Disney Plus series of her and
Beta Ray
Bill's adventures.
Yeah, but the thing with Beta Ray Bill is how do you add in him and him protecting himself in the Corbinites? I think it's what his race was called. Because what I remember...
Unless the Corbinites have gone extinct or have been killed by the God Butcher.
You're just really trying to get the God Butcher
I'm just... If he's in... Like... Because that's the one where there are people that are saying that Enchantress should be it, and there's people that...
What's happening with the Corbinites is he's supposed to be, like, they're all... I think they're supposed to be in, like, a cryogenic freeze until they find a planet or something, like, somewhere to live.
Yeah.
And he was the one that was left to protect them. He's the one that's the only one awake. He's been given sort of a super soldier serum by his people, or enhancements by his people.
Which... Would half of them have disappeared?
In the snap, maybe.
And he freaked out?
Maybe, like, they just dusted in their tube.
Because I would think so.
Yeah.
And he probably freaked the fuck out. Like, what the hell's going on here? And I don't know if he would just keep the tubes around like, oh, they're going to come back. Don't worry. Like,
well, I would think
they're gone forever.
Depending on how the spaceship is set up, it would just be like...
I would fucking think, if I saw you disappear, I'd be like, well, Johnny's gone forever.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I'm not doing I can't do a podcast with him anymore. I wouldn't sit here and go, don't worry, he'll be back. He'll be back in a couple minutes. He's just taking a short break.
He's just waiting.
Here's the last question I want to ask you with this is, because I see a YouTube video here titled Thor 4 Villain Leaked. And then it says, and sets up Galactus. Could you see a post-credit scene or something in Thor Love and Thunder set up a Galactus, or the threat of Galactus?
That'd be interesting.
Because he is cosmic.
He is cosmic. It'd be a cosmic.
And Eternal, well, we'd have to see what they do with Eternals, too. Because Eternals is the most cosmic that they're going to have in Phase 4.
Depends on which version of Eternals, but yeah. I'm just trying to think of, like, who would tie in with both Galactus and Thor. And I'm trying to see if this gives me any ideas. But no, I'm not seeing anything that kind of helps me tie it together.
Mm-hmm.
That would be an interesting one. I'm gonna lean myself towards it's gonna be Enchantress. A big chunk of that is because of the name and because of her ties with Thor and sort of the love triangle, quadrilateral. I'm not sure with him and Jane. Sort of the thing that was starting with him and Valkyrie in Ragnarok /
Endgame.
Infinity War? Yeah, Endgame, you're right. Yeah. There's like a little bit of something there.
Mm-hmm. A little bit, but
don't die. Like, you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I always saw it as like...
It could just be that they're really good friends.
They haven't... Or did they? I thought they established that Valkyrie in the MCU is a lesbian.
Maybe.
I would have to go... I thought in Thor Ragnarok they established... Like, it was very subtle.
When she was like with the other Valkyries.
Unless it just means she's bisexual.
She might be. I think in the comics she is.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it was one where she was just a lesbian.
I thought in the comics she was bi, but
didn't know you were gonna get this on the podcast, did you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, a whole new section of our podcasting now.
So.
I mean, it's right now in the MCU. Yeah, I can agree with you that she has been more set up to be a lesbian than bisexual. But I mean, there's a little bit of closeness with like her and Hulk for one. Seem pretty close, unless that was more of like again buddy, like really close friends. But like just the phrase to me, "Don't die," you know what I mean? It's like,
is it kind of like I love you? I know.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's like a lesser.
It's like I really like you. Please don't die.
So, final thoughts. Thor 4 before we wrap this up.
Yes.
Yes. Let's just make the movie.
No, I thought you were gonna dive into more specifics.
No, I'm asking you.
I'm gonna go Enchantress. I'm gonna go Enchantress as villain. I'm gonna go with Mjolnir gets put back together. And then Jane. Whatever reason she had, it could be as simple as like her talking to. It'd be kind of jokey, funny in a sense if she's talking to someone, puts her hand out when she's talking about Thor, and all of a sudden, what the hell?
The thing I wonder what they're gonna do is I wonder if they're gonna do the cancer angle.
Yeah,
are they gonna do the Jane?
I completely forgot to bring that up
because in the comic she has cancer and like to cure her.
No, actually, so in the comics...
Doesn't it cure her?
No. What?
Or it pauses the effects of the cancer and slows it down? Is that what it does?
Yeah, in a sense, it does do that. But what happens is, so she's going through chemotherapy. And every time she turns into Thor, it cancels out the chemo.
Okay.
So, which is what makes her worthy, is because she's willing to...
stop her chemo in order to become Thor
and save people.
So basically by being Thor she's killing herself.
Yeah, every time she turns into Thor she's killing herself.
Ooh. I don't know. Here's my biggest question. I don't know if they're going to go that dark. Exactly. I don't know if they're going to go that dark.
I don't see Disney going that route and playing that angle.
And they change it. They change everything.
They do. They're not going to. So I don't think we're going to get, I don't think because of how blah, blah.
Let's be honest though.
How Disney is how it is. I don't think we're going to get the cancer angle.
Let's be completely honest though.
Yeah.
They have the setup to do it.
No, they do.
Because every time we've heard about Jane, it's like, oh, Jane's off here, Jane's off there.
Jane's doing fine.
What if in Thor 4, Thor, the first time he sees Jane, Jane's not fine. Jane hasn't been off here and here doing what he thought.
Like Nick Fury's been telling him.
She's been dealing with cancer. Because in some cases, cancer is like, in some cases, it's like, hey, the chemo worked and you're done. Like, it's in remission. But there's some where it's like, it lasts long, and it's like it could be a process where it's like, yeah, Jane's been dealing with cancer, and we just like you haven't known.
I know we had it. It was just to set up Peter Quill, but we did have it in Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
When his mom died, the fucking like the gut punch right in the front.
the 5
Hey, come see Guardians.
The 5 minutes in gut punch.
You're gonna laugh a lot at this movie. And we punch it right in the gut.
Yeah, the 5 minutes in gut punch from Guardians.
It's like, I didn't expect to see that.
We did have it in Guardians.
And then the gut punch with his father in too.
Oh, I didn't want to put that tumor in her head.
Yeah.
What?
They basically... So, remember you forgot about this, audience? We're going to pull it out, punch you in the gut again. Yeah, that's basically what
it's more like a, hey, like a hand on the shoulder. Hey.
Basically. I can't wait to see what they do with that.
I'm super
I kind of
excited.
hope they go with the cancer route. I want to see that dark.
I kind of want...
I don't want to say dark, that sad angle. That real angle.
No, I want I would go with real angle to describe it, but also like, again, to show her worthiness.
Because that's what you got to do. You got to make Jane Foster worthy. How is she worthy of the powers of Thor?
Not that saying like cancer makes you worthy, but like the willingness to...
Yeah, sacrifice.
Exactly, the sacrifice.
Basically, like you said, you're willing to kill yourself to save others.
Exactly.
So that's going to wrap it up for us here on the Rick and Johnny podcast. Make sure to
took a dark turn
tell
at
us
the end there.
What you guys think in the comment section down below about anything that we talked about on this podcast. And if you're on YouTube right now, let us know what you guys think about the Thor 4 story. What do you guys expect from it, and what do you guys want to see in it? Also, I'm going to have a special poll question right here where I am going to throw up 3 topics. And I want you guys to tell us what you want us to talk about in the next Rick and Johnny podcast. So the 4, I'm going to give you
7,
3 choices.
9, 24, 6
Number
and a half.
1, Obi-Wan Disney Plus series. Do you want us to talk about that? About what we want to see from the Obi-Wan series? What should we expect from it? Number 2, Batgirl. Apparently DC is still making the director search a priority. Do you want us to talk about who could potentially direct the Batgirl movie? And then number 4, apparently live-action Spider-Man Universe TV series is in place. Do you want us to talk about that? So let us know what you think to that poll question about anything we talked about today on the podcast. I want to thank you guys for listening, watching. Make sure to support us on patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Follow Johnny, War Machine 9085. I'm at Ricky Widmer. Most Valuable Podcast is at Most Valuable Pod. Want to thank you guys for everything. And as always, have a good day, everybody.